Welcome to Felony Miami, where we have real conversation with real people about the criminal justice system in the U.S. of A.
Well, it's early, and in morning, then when I ride, Lordy mama. Well, it's early in the morning, then when I ride. Well, it's early in the morning, baby, when I ride, baby, to have it down here, on my right side.
Gloria Taylor is almost 30 years into a lifetime prison sentence for nonviolent drug trafficking. In 1990, she was arrested in Polk County, Florida, for possession of 21 grams of suspected cocaine. After searching her home, police found 56 grams of crack cocaine and arrested her for trafficking. In court, the U.S. Assistant Attorney offered to drop certain charges against Gloria if she would agree to be sentenced as a habitual felony offender and avoid going to trial. What neither she or her public defender knew when she accepted the plea is that the judge and prosecutor, at their discretion, would max out her sentence at 999 years. As of today, the system has decided she should die in prison. She has exhausted all her appeals. Her daughter, Gemena Taylor, has started a petition to raise awareness and to seek clemency for her mother. Today we speak to Gemena and her sister Kisha about what drug sentencing looks like from their perspective. Do you think Gloria Taylor should spend more than 30 years in prison for $5,000 worth of drugs? Does this help our communities? Are we just punishing people rather than rehabilitating them? And what is the right amount of time for the crime? Where there is injustice for one, there is injustice for all. Welcome to Felony Miami. Let's air it out. Hey, welcome back to Felony Miami. In today's episode, we have Gemena Taylor and her sister, Denisha/Kisha, here with us. And they're going to tell us about what happened with their mom, who was given a life prison sentence for possession of 2 ounces of crack cocaine in 1994. And we also have our esteemed colleague, Dr. B, a hip hop entrepreneur slash cardiologist, all around general cool guy. We're happy to have everybody here. And I am your host, Joe Stone. Welcome to Felony Miami. So, Gemena.
Yes.
Tell me what happened with your mom.
Well, my mom, correction on the date, you said 94, it happened in 1990.
90, okay.
She was arrested and given a life sentence 28 years ago to date for trafficking cocaine.
So let me ask you a question. Your mom, she was just like on the streets. She just got arrested. What happened? How did she get busted with this cocaine? Where were you? Where was your sister? Where was the rest of the family? What was going on?
Well, on Friday, March the 2nd, 1990, we were home. There was no school that day, and all of us was home. My mom had 3 kids at the time. It was me, my sister Denisha, and we have a brother. His name is Jamel. And she left the house that day. We had a nanny. Her name was Nisi. Nisi was at the house as well with us. And my mom said, Nisi, when I come back, I'm going to take you to buy a bedroom set. And we never heard from her again. All of a sudden, there was a knock at the door. I walked out of it because we all were in the room. It was me, Denisha, and Nisi, and my brother. We were in our room because
How old were you at the time?
I was 10 years old at the time, and I heard a knock at the door. So I went to the door to answer the door. My sister came out to the hallway to peek to see what was going on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
No?
And who was at the door?
It was a big Spanish-looking guy at the door, dressed in plain clothing.
Had you seen this guy before?
Never seen him in my life.
Okay.
And so I opened the door. After peeping out, thought it was somebody that I can open the door for. And he was like, hello, is Gary Taylor here? And I was like, no, he's not here. As soon as I said, no, he is not here, a whole bunch of guys in black clothing, mask, up, started running to the door. So immediately, my first instinct was to slam the door because I thought opposite. I didn't think that was the police because no one ever identified themselves as the police.
So you thought it was like a robbery.
I thought it was a robbery.
It must have been terrifying.
I was terrified because I really thought that our lives were going to end that day.
What did you think was going on, Tanisha?
Oh, my goodness. How I recall it is me and my sister, we were all in the room with the nanny, and I left out of the room to go into the kitchen to get something to drink. And as I got in the middle of the hallway, I stopped. And I don't know, I guess you can call it my intuition. I stopped as a kid, 9 years old, and I was like, my mom in jail at 9. And right after that happened, I heard a knock at the door, and my sister ran past me in the hallway. And she opened the door.
So you had a feeling that your mom wasn't, just a feeling hit
because
you.
we were in the room just now talking. I think we were playing cards or something, and we was like, what's taking her so long?
Oh, to come back home.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And so when I ran out the room to go get something to drink, I just stopped. And my reaction as a kid, no one heard me because they was all in the room. I say, my mom in jail.
Oh, my goodness. And that's when there was a knock.
A knock on the door. And my sister ran past me to go open the door.
Okay. So now, what was going through your mind when these men started rushing into your house?
Well, first I ran.
Yeah.
I ran down the hall and went into my brother's room.
So you closed the door? And
Yeah, I closed the door, and then I ran because I'm thinking, because I was always the different child.
Okay.
I was alert. I knew what was going on.
Right.
I was the one that was always peeping and learning and seeing. So I was kind of different.
Okay.
I was more alert. I had a lot more of my mom in me. So I closed the door and ran down the hall, but by the time I could get back to my room where they were at, they had done kicked in the door and was coming in with the assault rifles and the guns. And they grabbed me when I went in my brother's room. I was on the bed, and they put the guns to my face, and they said, don't move, just like that.
Still haven't identified themselves as police.
After they put the guns to my face, and that's when they was like, this the police, after, to calm me down, I guess, to say, hey, we the police. So.
Okay, so was your intuition right? Had your mom been arrested, was she in jail? Mm-hmm. So you were right. Your feeling was right.
Well, we didn't know at that time.
We didn't know at
Oh, you
that
didn't
time.
know?
No,
No.
we
They didn't tell you, hey, your mom's in jail.
No.
We're here to take you
No.
kids into protective custody.
No.
No.
And so did they have somebody from Family Services
No.
come? And,
No.
Oh, wow.
Nobody from Family Services came. The entire time they were at our house, probably maybe 2 p.m. from that day all the way to midnight, 1 a.m. No one ever said, we got your mom, she's in custody, or anything like that.
What were they doing in your house from 2 o'clock in the afternoon till midnight?
Searching, just tearing up the whole house, searching the house, going through all kind of papers and things like that. So it was just crazy.
That sounds terrifying. And so when did you get to see your mom? And you know what?
Different weight.
That's all right. We have somebody who's just got a new phone here, and
That
clearly
was the alarm.
not quite sure how to put it on silence. That's all right.
So they were there all that day, right? And they were just going through her. They spent a lot of time in her bedroom, searching, just trying to grab and get anything. They was in the garage, went up in the attic, unplugging televisions, microwaves. They were making comments saying, oh, my wife is going to have a good time.
Oh, they were taking things from your house.
Of
Yeah.
course. This is going to my wife.
Oh, wow.
They were saying that, and then they had us sitting in the living room, Indian style. I think they had the little plastic cuffs on my brother because he was tall, but he
Okay.
was still a child. Because if I was 10, he was 13.
Right.
And it was just, nobody ever said we have Gloria. My mom's house phone was ringing. They were answering the phone. Oh, Gloria told me to come meet you. Where you at? They were doing all of that.
'Cause they were doing some undercover work while
It
they
was-
were undercover.
Yes, they were. They were leaving the house to meet people that was calling her and everything.
So they could try to make other arrests. So let me ask you a question. You, this past year, started a petition.
Yes.
You started a petition because your mother pleaded no contest to the possession of cocaine. She was given a deal by the attorneys, and the deal was take life in prison. Versus what? Did she go to trial? Did she have like counsel? What happened? Because this petition you started is to try to get your mom off of this life sentence for 2 ounces of crack cocaine, yet she's still in prison.
Still in prison. 28 years.
28 years.
Yes, and that's the reason why I started the petition, is because it's unjust to me. And I go see my mom, and it hurts my feelings to see when I go see my mom, her eyes are just teared up.
Sure.
And I missed a whole lot of parenting. And what got me crunk is the rapper Meek Mills had went to jail probably like 3-4 months ago for a violation of probation. And then every time I would scroll on social media, I would see so much support from all of these big time celebrities. Oh, free Meek Mills. This is unjust. This is this. So
Right.
the whole time I'm reading all of this stuff, I'm like, unjust? He violated probation. He'll be home in 2 years. I mean, I was attacking all of the posts. All of the posts.
I mean, that's how we found you. I mean, so that was an effective strategy. And you made some noise.
And that's what I was trying to do, because I felt like if you're going to talk about unjust, then we have a real unjust situation. And the more that I've been digging into the case, it is very unjust. My mom's case, as I've been reading, it had a maximum of 3 years. Okay? My mom was sentenced as a habitual offender.
Right.
They had her to sign a paper that stated that she was going to get 12 years. They never said anything about a life sentence.
She was going to get 12 years for the sale of cocaine, or she was going to get 12 years because she was a habitual offender?
Well, they had a listing. They had like 1, 2, 3. They put on number 3, it stated defendant will be sentenced as a habitual felon.
Right.
And then number 7 stated the time. And it said that she was going to get this defendant
12.
should be sentenced to
12 years.
and it should be ran concurrent.
With any other charges.
Charges.
Because when we were reading over some of the documents, we saw that there was a weapons charge, armed robbery, a few years earlier. And I guess, according to the way the laws have been written, habitual offender means if you've done anything in a certain category within that 5-year period, you're considered habitual.
I want to
And-
state something when
Yeah.
it comes down to the armed robbery. You know that if you get caught stealing out of a store, they can say that's an armed robbery if you have something on you. Because
Oh, like a knife or pepper spray? Or
yes.
Is anything?
Yes,
It doesn't have to be a gun?
because you're stealing from the store, and it's not about what you do, it's how you do it. Because I know someone that got in trouble from shoplifting out of a store, but they charged her with an armed robbery too. So that's something that I'm trying to dig into now to find out what type of armed robbery was it? Because if it wasn't really an armed robbery, if that's just the charge that they gave her for something that a weapon was not used in, or maybe she had something on her at the time of an arrest, and they
Right.
say, okay, this is an armed robbery.
Right.
But either way it goes, I don't think that life in prison is the proper sentence.
No, we agree. I mean, that's one of the reasons that your story, piqued our interest and appealed to us, and we wanted to have you in here on the Felony Miami podcast to get your story. So let's just go back for a second. When you kids were sitting in the house, and Denisha, you had this intuition that your mom had been arrested, and in fact, she had been arrested. Do you guys know the story? When was the next time you got to see your mother? Was it in court?
Yes.
How much time between then and the time you got to see her in court?
Well, being that the situation happened in Polk County, that night when after they left, I called my aunt. My dad has one sister, and her name is Jean Pruitt. She passed away in 2007. They got in their cars that same night and drove up there and got us. And we had to come back to Miami.
Okay.
So that's why we never saw her like that until it was court time.
Okay.
Also want to let you guys know that my mom was pregnant when she got arrested.
Wow.
She was.
Yes, and she had her baby in prison.
I was going to ask you about that because you said she had 3 kids at the time of her
Yes.
arrest.
And
With
she
the
went
4th one on the way.
Yes,
Okay.
Wow. So she had, was it a boy or girl?
a boy.
So she had her last child, her son, while incarcerated.
Yes,
And do you have a relationship with him?
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes. Because my grandma had to get him, so he was raised around us. But when my grandma took sickness to Alzheimer, I called his father, which he lived in Polk County.
Okay.
And I had them to come get my brother because I had one child of my own, 19 years old. I couldn't really be a mom, to him and my child. Well, at least that's what I thought. Now, today, I wish I wouldn't have sent my brother to Polk County.
Wow. Got you. So,
Go on.
so I'm a physician, right?
Yes.
So basically, I always think things in terms of like what are we doing here? Like, is this actually solving the problem, right? And so I go back to square one, which is the purpose of your mom being locked up for life is to somehow decrease this drug problem that was going on at the time, and that's a separate argument about putting people in jail for drug crimes. But beyond that, the whole premise of your argument is that you feel that a life sentence for drug trafficking is not an appropriate sentence. And my question to you is that what are the downsides of your mom being locked up? So in addition to the fact that she's in jail, and we can argue about whether or not life in prison is a good thing or bad thing, and if that's actually going to decrease drug use in America, which it won't. But the question is, what collateral damage or things have happened as a result of her being locked up?
Well, that's a good question. Well, one of the main things that I know it caused damage to is the relationship between me and my siblings. Because we all were raised from different households.
You guys got split up?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough age to get split up at, 9,
Yeah.
10, 13.
Yes.
So-
after being split up before,
Yeah.
because we weren't raised together. My sister was born in prison.
Yeah.
Wow. So your mom was in prison when she had you, and what do you mean split up before? So what happened?
Because when
Prior to
when my mom had me, I went to stay with my aunt because she went to prison shortly after. I was born in 79. She was born in 80. But she only served a couple of years because by the time I turned 6, I knew who she was.
Wow.
So let me ask you a question. Your mom went into court. I'm really curious, and I'm sure the listeners are curious about why she was given this deal and why she signed this deal. I mean, did she have like full due process? Did she go to trial? Did she go? What happened there?
There was no trial.
No, she didn't go to trial.
There was no trial. She opted not to go to a trial. Did they? What happened?
I don't think it got to the conversation of trial.
Okay.
Because now that I've been researching and reading, I really think she was misled.
So she took a plea deal.
She thought it was a plea deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense that you would take the maximum plea deal.
Right.
Because on that paper it says 12 years. You get what I'm saying? On the paper it's telling you 12 years. So you thinking, okay, well, all I'm going to get is 12 years. Okay, I know I got to do something. So let me go ahead and it's better than 15, 20, or a life sentence. So she actually thought that she was getting 12 years because on the day of sentencing,
Yeah.
the judge gave her a life sentence. And as soon as he gave her that sentence, the public defender who was representing my mom stood up right in the middle of the court. All of this is on transcript. Oh my God, Your Honor, had I known that my client was going to receive a life sentence, I would have never misled her.
Oh, so her attorney misled her unknowingly? Was he duped by the prosecution?
I believe so.
Or did the judge just have within his power to make a decision to issue a life sentence?
That as well.
Which seems just incredibly
Harsh.
Very harsh.
Yeah.
Very harsh.
Yeah, seems very, very harsh. Yeah, I mean, even, it's interesting because you say habitual offender, but, she only had this one incident, and I think it was 4 years earlier with the armed robbery. And then she had this 2 ounces of crack cocaine. You hear somebody say a drug trafficker, I don't know, the first thing that pops into my mind is Pablo Escobar, that's a trafficker.
Right.
Not somebody, trying to sell, look, it's wrong to sell crack cocaine. We all agree on that, right?
Yes.
But it seems wrong to have that punishment line up with that particular crime. It just seems so. My question is this. You started this petition, which I assume is to gain some traction to eventually take this to the clemency board.
Yes.
And do you know the process? Do you have an idea of how that process works?
I have no idea. I'm just taking the steps as they come to me. I've been on the phone back and forth with the clemency board several times. I had my mom to send a power of attorney so that they would actually speak to me, because if you don't have that power of attorney, they won't speak to you. And my mom had actually put in for a clemency back in 2013, and it's just been sitting there. No type of movement or anything. It's just like, okay, we have millions of people before you, so you're to the side.
Sure. Yeah, it's got to be tough to get in that line.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people are seeking clemency for whatever reasons.
And are you getting any support with this from any outside organizations?
Yes, Felony Miami.
Oh, all right. There you go.
And the people. I'm grateful that I was able to reach almost 4,000 signatures so far. I mean, the petition isn't really even 6 months old. So I'm grateful for that. It's just that I wish I had more power, more bigger fish that might know more about the justice system, or some type of attention from attorneys that would say, hey, you know what? I feel your pain. I'm here to help. Because I've actually reached out to different attorneys to find out the cost of an appeal. And every attorney has told me that there is nothing they can do. And the way that they have my mom sentenced, she's supposed to die in prison.
Wow. That's heavy because, I guess also in Florida they don't do parole anymore, right? That's not a thing.
Right.
Which I didn't know about until just recently. And I guess the other way is the pardon or
Right.
clemency.
That's the only way that she can come home is through a pardon or a clemency. And then it just makes me think about Griselda Blanco.
Yeah.
She came home, and that was a trafficker and a murderer.
Right.
Griselda Blanco from Cocaine Cowboys.
Yes.
Okay.
And the way they have my mama sentenced, you would think she was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems that there's definitely been some injustice here, and I mean, my question, to the audience is, how do you guys feel about this? Is there anybody out there that has some experience with the clemency process in the state of Florida? Is there anybody out there that's an expert in this area that can come and give some advice to Gemena and her sister, and see if these things can be moved on? Look, bottom line is this: people don't get involved in these things until their life is affected by them, and sooner or later, if you're out there long enough, your life is going to get affected by the criminal justice system, whether it's with you, someone someone else's child, someone else's parent. And it's important for us, I think, at this time, there's so much bipartisan attention to the matter of how incredibly unjust this government was in the 80s and 90s and creating these maximum minimums. And, we intend to have future shows that focus on how that punishment has been doled out to people, because bottom line is we all live here, and it takes a lot of money and resources to keep people imprisoned. And does someone like your mom really need to be in prison the rest of her life?
No, and it does take a lot of money. Her kids have to look out for her. It takes money. It is a strain on your life. My whole another reason why I'm so happy to bring light to the situation is because I want people to understand that she's not the only one doing a life sentence. I'm doing a life sentence too.
Uh-huh.
Because there's a lot of things that I've endured in my life.
Yeah.
And if I would have had a mother there to guide me and teach me and things of that nature, I would have been. I didn't turn out bad, thank God, but I know I could have been better. And just because my mama sold drugs, that doesn't mean that she wasn't a person that can teach me things
Or love you.
or love me. That was just her way of taking care of her kids. My mom started selling drugs in 1971. My mom was one girl out of 7 boys. So maybe she followed her brothers. Maybe she
Kind of
followed
like a family business.
Right. And then, a lot of times we become product of our environments. Everybody can't afford to be over here and be over there. Some people actually projects,
Yeah.
low income housing. And for some strange reason, those type of environments come with that.
Well, they incentivize it, actually, right?
Yes, like if you stay in low income housing, drugs gonna be sold. I'm sorry, it just
That's baked into
the
the cake.
demographics is there. So
And it goes to the question of what are you doing, right? The criminal justice system is it actually decreasing decreasing the thing that they're trying to decrease, which is drug use.
it's not.
Right. So are less people using drugs?
No.
Are you improving the quality of lives of people? Are less people dying, or are these policies actually causing more death and suffering ultimately? And your story, like you said, you're serving a life sentence as well. You're being punished for your mom's crime, and so have you.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, could this have been handled a different way that would have actually benefited everyone involved? And these are the kind of discussions that we want to have, because we've kind of accepted the criminal justice system as is. But what are you trying to do? Like, if somebody's doing drugs, are you trying to help them, or are you trying to punish them? Because we're very good at punishing people, but not necessarily good at preventing the actual outcome, which is less death and less suffering, less drug use.
if you gonna lock the dealer up, take the customer too.
Exactly.
If you're gonna rehabilitate one,
Yeah.
rehabilitate them all. Because I took the time out, and I one day I was just thinking to myself, and I said, they'll lock the dealer up, but they'll leave the user out here to continue to destruct themselves.
Well, they were locking up a lot of users too
Yeah.
for during the 90s.
Yeah,
you know,
but
this is Florida actually,
Yeah, they were.
was the pioneer in drug court. Florida is the state that started here in Dade County actually that started the concept of drug court and these diversion programs with drug users saying, "Hey, wait a minute, maybe not a criminal activity, maybe an actual public health crisis."
Yeah.
Because look, and all the research shows addiction is a disease. Clearly there can be people that can smoke crack cocaine and get physically addicted, and that can happen with all. Listen, the Colombian cartels didn't become, billionaires because people don't want to do this stuff, right? And it's, I think, also proven that, white, black, there's an issue there, because there's a lot of white kids that do the drugs, and that privilege, the money, and and the color,
Yeah.
and I'm a white kid who, I'm not a kid anymore, but I experienced that privilege myself. I've had tangles with the police, and because my parents had a little bit of money and they knew to call a lawyer, and I was fortunate enough to have a lawyer come and represent me. I didn't end up getting charged with a felony and then having my rest of my life, because I was a teenager when that happened, scarred by that, because it's not easy to go forward once you have that in your life. Have you ever had any run-ins with the police, Gemena?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And?
Well, I've overcome all of the run-ins. They weren't really like terrible situations, but like I said, it's all about the guidance and someone around you to teach you right from wrong. I mean, we do know right from wrong, but sometimes we don't know when it's right and when it's wrong either, especially if you're not familiar with the situation. So, yes, I've had run-ins, but not all the time, just few or whatever. But I've always been a good speaker. Now, let's get that correct. You put me in front of the judge, I'm going to talk to the judge.
Okay. I mean, and do you think that's what happened with your mom? She just was quiet. She stayed quiet, and she just, listened to what the public defender said. Oh, do this, do this. I mean, because it seems to me that that's happening a lot. I mean, and honestly, those stories that I've heard about people getting railroaded, it was one of the reasons that I started Felony Miami, and I reached out to Bernard and Jake Cattell and Aaron Fishbein and Steve Eisenberg, and I said, hey, I got this idea, and they all jumped on it right away, because you know what? And these are 4 different people from different backgrounds. They all have the same feeling that there's something not right going on in our system right now, and it needs to, we need to turn the volume up on this and talk about it and get it out there, and then hopefully we can affect some change with our listeners, and they hopefully can help you in your quest to see if Gloria can get out of prison one day.
Yeah.
And with that bit back on when you said what she probably just didn't say anything in the courtroom, I don't think that she just sat there and didn't say anything. Sometimes as a black person, when what you say ain't gonna matter.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. She knew it don't matter, no matter what, it's them against me. So sometimes the situation would make you keep your mouth closed because I'm in a situation where I'm not going to win anyway.
Yeah. And she was in Polk County, right?
Right.
Yeah. And Polk County is known for its history of racism.
I've been called a nigger before riding my bike.
In Polk County?
Yes, I was riding my bike, and this person rolled by and was like, move out the way, nigger. It didn't bother me. But I've been called a nigger before.
That bothers me.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I hear brothers and sisters call each other that all the time,
Yes.
and I think that's like, that's a whole nother conversation because I think that's clearly a word that
They don't
doesn't
understand.
belong. Yeah, that doesn't belong to white people
I was-
anymore.
I was actually called a nigger last year in my neighborhood where I stay at. This guy rolled by, Spanish guy talking about nigger. I was like, child, you want to, you just don't know it. That's how I, brushed it off.
Yeah,
But still.
I mean, and I agree. I mean, people will throw those darts at you, and it's up to you to let it sting or not.
Exactly.
And so, if you let that roll off your back, it says more about them than you, right?
Exactly.
And so I agree with that. But I just brought up Polk County because you were mentioning kind of the chips were stacked against her from the beginning, and then you put it in the context of a young black woman who's in this particular courtroom
Versus
at that time in history. It was just a very, very tough mountain to climb for her.
very.
Yeah.
I have a question. Have you communicated at all with the lawyer that represented your mother in this case?
No, I just found out who he was thanks to Felony Miami.
Oh, look out.
Yeah.
You guys are very
Crack research team. Okay, maybe crack's not the right word, but our killer research team.
And you know what? I really want to put this out there. Felony Miami, you guys have really opened a lot of insight for me by knowing how to get certain things. Like, say, for instance, I would have never known about the 12 years had you not helped me by researching things that I didn't even know you were researching.
That's Jay Cattell, master researcher. Yeah. He's amazing.
Big up.
The research that he's given me, I think these are the things that are going to help my mom.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't even, the stuff that I'm seeing is better than the transcript. I was like, I'm seeing behind the scenes.
Which is what you're going to need. And I know we had a conversation with somebody else that was, part of the Felony Miami Circle. And that person, said how important it is that when you get your shot in front of the clemency board, that you come in as a real person, with your real emotions and just real stuff. Because it's not, a lot of times for them, it's not about fancy legal talk and having your evidence lined up and having the different data. It's more about what's going on really in here with you and your family and the community. And, what does your mom have to say about all this stuff?
Yeah. That's great.
About the Felony Miami or just overall her life sentence?
Everything. Yeah.
My mother is very tired. She's very tired. She has hope and faith. I must say that. Every year she says, I'm coming home this year. I'm coming home this year. And when the New Year, her birthday is New Year's Day. So every December 31st, I feel like we didn't do enough to help her.
So she's still hopeful that she's going to
Yeah,
be
she
home.
be saying, I'm coming home. And that's sad. 28 going on 29 years. My mama missed my life. My mama missed my sister's life, my brother's life. We have
Her
kids.
grandkids.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's kind of sad because when my kids go to see her, it's like the questions that they ask about their grandma.
What kind of questions do they ask?
When is grandma coming home? Or what does she do to get there? Or
And how do you answer that?
I just tell them the truth.
You do?
I tell them the truth.
'Cause
Yeah,
that can
because
keep them-
it sheds light to them as well.
Okay.
So I tell
That's
them
very
the
brave.
truth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's I think it's the right thing to do because there's too much covering up of truths for this next generation.
Or they're always asking, when is grandma coming home? And it kind of does something to me when we go there because it's like they're kids and it's like they're asking all of these questions and it kind of affects them because they don't have a grandmother in their life.
Right. And you had a time in your life when she was at home. And your kids have never experienced her being at home for them. They've only experienced a relationship with their grandma from prison. And that's got to be difficult.
How
process.
has her incarceration affected your relationship with
With her?
Yeah.
It haven't affected my relationship with her, being that I'm spiritual and I'm a woman of faith. So in my eyes, I just believe that, like my sister said, you are a product of your environment. My mom did what she had to do in order to try to take care of us.
So you were never resentful of her
Never.
or angry with her about what
Never.
happened?
Never.
I was.
You were at
Never.
one point?
Yeah, my sister was, but
Gotcha.
I wasn't.
I was because my mom. I'm like my mom. A lot of people say you look like your mama, you talk like your mama, you move how your mama moves. So it affected me because I think my mama kind of knew that. So she was a little
did.
tough on me. I was the one that got all the punishments. I used to feel like she didn't love me. She loved my sister and my brother more than me because they had the same father. So I always had my
It
own
was
father.
never that.
Right, but that's how I felt.
know, that's
you
how
get
you
what I'm
felt.
saying?
Right.
So I had a little thing against her. Like, I was just like, you know what? At the time, it was a point where I wasn't in her life. But my son taught me how to love my mom. My son used to hug on me and kiss on me and stuff like that. And I never, rejected him. But inside, I didn't know how to receive it because I did not know why this child loved me so much. And as I got to become a mom years, I realized that was the love a child have for their mom. And I did not possess that inside of me. So that's why I didn't know how to relate to the hugs and the kisses and from this little person. Just
Yeah.
crazy about me because I was a proactive mom. My mom was a hustler. So she wasn't really that mother type. My mom was militant, but she wasn't bad.
Right.
And it was a reason why she was militant, probably because she knew what she was into. See, sometimes the things that you do can turn you into your character. It can set the stage for your character. So my mama was a strong person. We strong too. Believe it or not.
No, I believe it.
We
I
are.
see it. I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I co-sign on that. Yes.
We strong too. So that's a gift and a curse because I prefer to be a strong woman before I be a weak one. That way, because my sister has boys and one girl, and I have a boy. So God made us tough for a reason. And now I think the reason is because he knew that way beforehand we were going to be fending for ourselves. Like growing up out here, just,
Without a mom.
without a mom.
Yeah. Without a mom.
So, if and when your mom gets out of prison,
Yes.
how about we just say when she gets out of prison?
Yes.
Do you have any plans?
Yes. Just
For
be
her.
a grandma.
Yeah.
I'll take care of her.
Nice.
To have that bonding relationship.
Yeah,
you
she
know?
don't have to do anything when she come home.
Just look forward to the
Between
future
us-
to build those memories.
Between us, she'll sleep good at night. She won't be on the bus stop and she won't be hungry.
Gotcha.
I mean, because I just found, as a matter of fact, I did not know, the last time I spoke with you, I did not know my mother's age. She's 61 years old. She got arrested when she was 34.
Wow.
That's a long
It's a
time.
long time.
So my whole point is, she did a crime. Time has to be served. I'm not trying to say, oh no, let her go because she was right. No, she was wrong.
Right.
You could have gave her the 12 years. She had to do some time, but not her life.
So
Yeah.
going forward from here, now you've started this petition. You've seen some of the transcripts. You've seen some of the documents from the arrest, from the attorneys that we were able to share with you, and we'll also be able to put some of that on the Felony Miami website. But going forward from here, do you have any concrete plans on what your next steps are?
No, and I'm being so honest. I'm praying for plans. I know we're getting ready to get a new governor. This is the last year for Rick Scott. I don't think Rick Scott is down with clemency.
Yeah, there's been some interesting things going on with the clemency board this last year in Florida. And, to me, if you don't have a plan, you need to get one.
So
You need to get a plan in place.
this the thing.
Yeah.
A new governor is going to start running. I know Charlie Chris. I met someone who Charlie Chris pardoned. She's on my side telling me things to do. She knows my mom, too. That's how she found me online. She was like, oh, my God, I know your mom. I did time with you. You'd be so surprised how many people I've met that have ran through the prisons, even friends of mine that done got in trouble that met my mom. So my plan is to find out who's going to be running for governor and say, look, this is how I feel. Like, give it to them raw because it's there. Even from a poem I wrote called What is a Mom? I just feel like if I read that to the parole board, my mom will come home.
What is this?
It's called What's a Mom?
And what is it?
It's something that I wrote from the heart. It's like a long... It's not even a poem because it's not rhyming. It's basically just feelings on a paper because, like I told you, what is a mom?
Right.
Yeah, I need to know what mom is. So I need to find out who's running so I can say, hey, I got 10,000 people that feel the same way I feel.
Right. And I think, if your plan is to try to get in front of whoever the new governor is going to be, I think that's great. Mm-hmm. And I think on one level, it could be very difficult. I think on the other level, look, if you got in front of me and you showed me this and you brought this case to my attention and I was the governor, I would look at it and go, seems a bit harsh. Maybe we should grant a pardon. Okay, and I think anybody listening to this show that hears the story, has read the case, I know the team here at Felony Miami, we've all looked at the case and we all agree, yeah, it was wrong to sell crack cocaine. There should have been a punishment for that,
Yes.
And
Even
get caught.
I agree.
Right, even...
Yeah, you break the law, yeah, you serve the time.
Even I
Right.
agree. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people want to come home from prison. Like, I know the clemency board, they hear a lot of cases. You got some people that just want to get clemency to come back and be who they were before they got arrested. My mom doesn't want to be that girl anymore.
Right,
She's 61 years old.
right. Yeah. She just wants to go home and
She's
see
singing
her
in
grandkids.
church at the prison. She's really she's not trying to do that. My mom just wants to come home and live the rest of her life because you don't know when your last day is.
No, you don't.
And that's a fear I have. I don't want the prison to call me and say, we found your mom in her cell and she didn't wake up today. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
It's painful. I walk around with so much pain because it's like events after events. My mom been in prison all my life. My son's father passed away when I was pregnant. It's just a lot of different little things, And I really feel like if my mama come home, that'll change a lot between the relationship with her kids, because we close, but we not close. We have our falling outs. It be times where I don't talk to my sister for months, and that's not right. And I wish we had a better bond. We try to have it. It's not like we enemies, but I really feel like the mom is the one that can bring all of that together.
Yeah, usually it's the mother that's
Because my mom
making
has
everyone feel guilty. All right, what do you mean you're not coming for dinner?
my mama has a son. We have an older brother.
Yeah.
I'm 30. I'll be 39. My brother is older than me. He ain't seen my mama since he was a teenager. He's been rejecting
He
her.
have a lot of resentment.
Yeah,
He does.
He probably has a lot of resentment.
But I'm the one that was on the punishments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like if anybody should resent, it should be me. And I wish God would just walk into his life, because that'll change my mom too, to see her on her first child. That's her firstborn. And that's supposed to be the man in her life. My mom doesn't have a man or anything like that. So if you was to be in her life, you would uplift her too. You know, so like I said, this situation caused a lot of damage internally, and the government, the state, the judge, they don't care about that. They just want justice, or how they feel like it should be distributed. And that is not only happening to my mom; that's happening to so many other people out here. Mm-hmm. Okay, look at the girl Casey, who killed her baby. Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
She killed her baby. You can't tell me she didn't do that. This girl ain't get a pinch on her wrist.
White girl.
Exactly. And guess what happened?
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It happened not too far from Polk County.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at all the priests that rob little innocent children, boys. Nobody gets in trouble for that. So all I'm saying is, yes, it's a color thing, and it's just too much.
Yeah, and I think, one of the sad things about this particular case is that your mom never got the opportunity to have a trial, to be found guilty or innocent by a jury of her peers, like the white girl that killed her baby, Casey Anthony. The jury found her not guilty.
Exactly.
That's why she didn't get a pinch of the wrist, because she went through the process and
had great legal representation.
Well, of course.
Right. That's
And,
true,
that's another part of the deal. And one of the biggest problems I see in this whole system is, and you see it happening now with other states, talking about removing bond for certain offenses, nonviolent offenses, or getting rid of the bond hearings, not having the bond, because that's a whole business in and of itself. Mm-hmm. And then these courts get overrun, and they can't even process and give somebody, due process and run somebody through the system the way it was originally intended to be run. But look, there is crime out there.
Right.
You don't believe it? Go walk down to your local courthouse and sit in the bond hearing room and listen. There are people that need to be in jail. Mm-hmm. But again, there are people who are getting railroaded by this system, and it doesn't just affect them, as we clearly have heard here today. It affects the children, it affects the grandchildren, and it affects the community as a whole, and it's unhealthy for the community as a whole. And the United States, unfortunately, is a country that imprisons a huge population.
And you know what else it does too? It makes citizens become rebellious against law enforcement.
How's your opinion about law enforcement? What was your first? Was this experience when these people broke into your house your first experience with police officers?
No.
No? You had experiences before that? Tell me.
Well, we grew up around that type of stuff, and so.
It was just a common occurrence, huh?
Yeah. It
Unfortunately.
was kind of common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and it did not make me dislike police officers. I don't hate them.
But you saw a lot of police activity.
Yeah, coming up.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like, Bernard, you're in the hip hop world. It seems like, is this something that hip hop is like rooted in and found in? Do you hear a lot of talk about?
Yeah. The origins of hip hop, it started in the Bronx. And at that point in time, the Bronx was stricken with poverty. It was there was a lot of riots at that time in America. And the Bronx suffered a lot of setbacks in terms of self-destructive behavior. But a lot of people were rebelling. And hip-hop is a manifestation of that. And so when you said it makes people want to rebel, I wanted you to elaborate on that because, to your point, Joe, there are a lot of similarities, I guess, or at least hip hop is a manifestation of this circumstance in a lot of neighborhoods. But I wanted you to elaborate on why you felt people would become rebellious as a result of the criminal justice system.
Because a lot of people see the wrongness in the system. Mm. A lot of people have, like, outside of my mom's, everybody knows somebody that has had a run-in, good or bad, white collar or whatever. And you get to see for yourself what's right in your belief and what's wrong. So, say for instance, police shootings. A lot of people rebel against the police since we've seen so much footage now, because the camera phones, they show you everything, and somebody's always recording. So we could just take for example, remember the guy that got pulled over by the police officer, and
Philando.
him. It's a couple of them, but we could talk about Philandro because that was very heartbreaking. This guy told the officer, "I have a gun.
Michigan, yeah.
I have a license for my gun." There was a child in the car and a woman, and you shot inside of the car. Someone on the outside watching that is furious on the inside. A righteous person, a person with a heart, a person with sense. We're gonna say a person that has as a word I'm looking for, that's not judged, that's not biased, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
So you watching that and you see that go down, you gonna be like, the police. You're not gonna feel good about the police.
Yeah.
So when other people see the police doing the most, I would say, like overdoing things that make you be like, you know what? I'm staying away from the police. That's why a lot of people don't tell the police things, because they just rebellious again. They feel like the police don't like me, so I don't like them.
Yeah.
And that goes on, and it happens to kids. Let's just say the kids, like that little girl that was in that car. She's not gonna like the police.
Yeah. And it's tough because it actually makes their job more difficult, because at the end of the day, people are going to have resentment against
Exactly.
police and be more willing to
And
do things.
And I've witnessed growing up in different areas, or even hanging, because I used to hang in the hoods, to be honest with you. And you used to have police back in the days that got along with everybody. They knew how to ride around in the neighborhood and speak to everybody. They don't do that no more. And that's a problem. That's why people are rebellious, because you're not my friend, so I'm not going to be your friend.
Yeah.
That's with anybody. You don't have to be a police. Just like if me and you, you don't speak to me, I'm not speaking to you. You don't like me, I don't like you. So that's what makes them rebellious.
Yeah, that's a whole systemic problem
Yeah.
too. That we can. I mean, that's a whole show, honestly,
Yes. Yeah.
because there's clearly an issue with the way policing has changed in the last 20,
Yes.
20
Yeah.
years.
serve and protect is relative, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's what they're supposed to do, but certain communities view police very differently based on their experiences.
Exactly.
Clearly, yeah. I mean, and you can see the proof of that
Yeah.
and all the, like you said, video footage.
And it's a minority thing. We're gonna just keep it real.
Yeah.
Minorities are most likely to be rebellious against police officers than a white American person. And when I say minorities, I'm talking about the black, the Spanish, not the majority. So, because those are the people that have more run-ins with the law and seem to be getting unfair treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's another
Yeah, a whole
discussion.
nother discussion.
But
Another show.
definitely wanted to give you the opportunity to tell us where people can go if they want to support your mom's petition, or help provide any resources to see if we can come up with a plan to get her out.
Okay, well, you can always reach out to the Felony Miami team, because they are on my team. I'm on their
Definitely.
team. You can go to their Instagram page. It is Felony Miami. I also have an Instagram page. It's The Real 15, which is spelled THEREEL 15. There is a link in my bio. All you have to do is click on the link. It will take you directly to the change.org petition that I have. Or you can go to change.org and type in "mom sentenced to life 28 years ago," and it's going to pop up. I just need you guys to sign the petition. If you know anybody that's in high places that can help me, I'm open for it. I just want to get my mom home. I don't want my mom to pass away in prison. And like I said before, people, yes, she committed a crime. I'm not here trying to excuse her from the crime. She did have to do time. And I'm with that. Yes, you did something wrong, Mom. This is your punishment. But I don't think she should have to sacrifice her life for 28 grams of cocaine.
You have anything to say about that, Denisha?
I feel the same way that my sister feel. And the outcome of all of this is just take and look at the end result of everything, being that she did serve 28 years. What would you do? What would you do if you were in that situation? How would you feel explaining to your kids day in and day out, or when they ask questions about certain things because they're coming up? What would you do? Put yourself inside of our shoes.
Mother's Day, we're not able to spend with our mom. Christmas, we're not able. We never sat down as a family for Thanksgiving. My mom has to be in prison on her birthday, which is a national holiday, New Year's Day. So, of course, we're feeling all of that. We don't want you to feel sorry for us. We want you to have some type of feelings for Gloria Taylor.
A little empathy.
A little empathy.
Goes a long way.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Yeah. You have any last words, Bernard?
No, I mean, yes. I definitely feel like this was a grave injustice, meaning that your mom's life was taken away, and in a lot of ways, your lives were negatively impacted. And nothing will ever make this right. But I agree, if we can somehow get her out to see the light of day, that at least we can mitigate or minimize the damage that has been done, because she still has a lot more life to live. And you came up with the hashtag Free Glow.
Yes.
And I've used that hashtag a few times.
I appreciate you and I see it.
And I believe in it wholeheartedly, and we need a free glow.
Time is up.
Yeah. Time is up.
Time served.
Yeah, she's done her time. And
28 years, going on 29, March 2nd is right around the corner. When is March 2nd?
Friday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
wow.
Happy anniversary.
Well, I'm so honored to have had you two ladies in here to talk about this case and your mom.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, and I'd like to thank Dr. B for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
And I'd like to, of course, thank our team, Aaron Fishbein, Jay Cattell, Steve Eisenberg, for Felony Miami. My name is Joe Stone. We'll see you next time.
Well, it's early, all hand and morning, then when